The Celtics beat. Free agency is, of course, right around the corner. There's a lot going on in the NBA as it relates to the Celtics and elsewhere. And, of course, the NBA draft that is behind us now as we talk in real time. It happened last night. And the amazing thing is I don't think in the history of this program we have ever talked less about the draft going into it because the Celtics didn't have a first rounder for the first time since 2009, just the 45th overall pick. Pursued trading up, didn't happen. They used it, and we will get into all that. But I am Adam Kaufman, happy to be with you. Evan Valenti, a staple of the program, always here. And Mark Murphy, good friend of the show. We have him on every couple of months, just often enough, Mark, to have you on and consistently hear your voice, but not often enough so that you feel like when I text you, it's a bother. I think every couple of months is about right.
Yeah, I was starting to feel neglected. But
it's good to have you here. We appreciate it. As he often jokes that the grandpa of the program when he's on with us on video, but the man comes in with the childlike enthusiasm and hot takes. Guys, the newest Celtic, although no time soon, and I hope I'm saying it right, is Juhann Bergarin, the 18-year-old from France who Brad Stevens saying last night in all likelihood, not unlike Jan Madar, who we hope, of course, Celtics fans, that he is here this coming year. We expect to see him in Summer League coming up next month. But this kid he's going to be overseas and probably for multiple seasons. And Brad acknowledging there is, and he didn't say it this way, but there's a benefit to obviously, taking that guy and not worrying about cluttering up your roster with younger players and oh by the way letting other teams, other people develop him, kind of like do us a favor a little bit while he's so young and impressionable. What did you think of the pick? Did it surprise you at all?
No, I kind of thought they were going to get another stash player. I mean, they just don't know what their roster is going to be at this point beyond the guys they're committed to. Trades will change it a little bit. And listening to Brad last night, I mean, it does indeed sound like there's going to be some kind of trade around the corner. He's, he's raw. He's another wing. I guess in this NBA, you can never get enough wings, right? You got Romeo, you got Naismith, you got the Jays. This guy's way down the line. Maybe he goes down the Colton Iverson rabbit hole. I don't know, but they have time. I mean that certainly worked with Yam last year, most improved player in the Israeli Premier League. Yeah, I mean, what do you need with the 45th pick anyway? I wouldn't have been surprised if they had given it away for cash or something.
Yeah, and honestly, not only wouldn't have been surprised, I kind of would have embraced it. Not because I think this kid's a bad pick. I know as Evan does, and I'll let him speak for himself. But he goes down the highlight rabbit hole and falls in love with guys before they've, we haven't heard of him 5 minutes ago, but now he's the next best thing, which is great because I'm a little too cynical for that. So we need Evan around for things like that. But it's more often than not, the vast majority of the time, and I'm not talking Celtics, I'm talking NBA in general, you take a guy in the second round, never mind 45th, second round, late first round. Like typically these guys don't pan out. They're flyers, they're dart throws, they're, it's you hope for the best and there's potential there, sure, but the fact that we're not going to see him anytime soon doesn't disappoint me at all. They have much bigger things at hand to tackle with this roster.
No, he may not even be on the Summer League roster. That's yet to be negotiated. But yeah, leave him in France. Maybe you can get him into a better league than the French Premier League. Maybe you can get him into Israel, which seems to be a pretty hot development ground right now. And see what happens. But he's off the radar.
Evan, you're not going to be able to order a jersey just yet. You're going to have to personalize it on the NBA site. So it's Begarin.
Yeah, I mean, look,
pick the number. You go 21.
I can't pick 40. Romeo's 45, right? So I can't pick 45.
Yeah, I guess not. Go 21 for the year.
Yeah, right. The one thing. So first off, I agree with Mark. The strategy of they're going to pick a guy that doesn't even play and they're just not going to take a roster spot is smart. They're kind of cluing us in. And Brad talked last night, and I listened to his bit with NBC Sports Boston this morning. he talked about, and it's pretty obvious that I think he might have been really mad, and I think people have talked about this, and it's been maybe reported somewhere that he's probably mad at the fact that they had so many young guys into the bench and they were too young. They needed some older guys to help them in certain situations, and by drafting this guy Bergarin, I hope I'm saying that right. You guarantee yourself,
as long as we're consistent, the three of us, that's really
good.
all that matters.
If you draft him with the idea of like, okay, we drafted this guy, and the Celtics drafted this guy, but he's not going to be here. We can let him develop somewhere else. Meanwhile, we can give those out of the bench spots to people that are really going to play. So I like that. When you have the 45th pick in the draft, and this is again, I piggyback off Adam. 2 ways to look at late first round picks / any second round pick that you have. You either A, pick a skill that your team desperately needs, and you find a guy that fits that skill, like Joe Wieskamp is a 3-point shooter. Austin Reeves, a 3-point shooter. Even the guy they got late, Sam Hauser, who shot, I think, 48% from 3 on 5 attempts a game the season prior to last. I think he was Wichita State, maybe. Then went on to Virginia and shot 46% from 3 on 6 attempts. Just pretty again, good shooter. That you take something like that, or you say, all right, this guy has so much upside, but he's so far away that if we let him develop somewhere, he might really develop into something. Then if he were 2 years later on the road, he'd be a mid first rounder or a lottery pick, something like that. And that's the way Boston's going here. I have no problem with that. Wings, as Mark mentioned, hottest thing you'd possibly imagine in terms of value, right? There's so many point guards in the NBA that it seems like everybody's got a bunch of the Boston can use one. Big men are, if they don't do certain things, they're really not valuable for you anymore, right? So wings is the hot commodity. It's what you want the most of in the NBA, because the way we switch on defense and way guys can act as facilitators as a wing player, and what the mismatches that creates on the offense, defense, and whatever. So into Bergeron, like, first off, the frame is ideal for a guy like that. I mean, 6'6", 7-foot wingspan, as an 18-year-old, already weighs 215 pounds. That's a really solid frame on a young man. That's literally still a teenager, can't even get a legal drink here in the United States yet, right? So that's positive. He's defensively pretty. Again, the frame is nice, but defensively, like, his wingspan makes it very difficult for a lot of people to get their shot up. So that's nice. Offensively, seems like that's going to be where most of the development needs to happen. I guess he's comfortable with the ball in his hands, has a nice little crossover. His shot doesn't look too bad in terms of technique. His feet below him get a little too happy, right? You want it to be a little tighter, a little less movement in the lower half. And that'll come with experience, right? In training and in practice and all that stuff. I just think, in terms of having a roster spot available for somebody else, he checks that box off. The upside is obviously there as a 3-and-D potential guy with maybe some facilitation. We'll see. But I overall like the pick. People wanted Sharif Cooper, who I love, but he's like 6 feet tall and doesn't weigh anything. He scored 20 a game, 8 assists, and Trae Young did the same thing his freshman season. So we'll see. But you want this team clearly has a type, right? They like athletic wings that are long and switchable on defense, and Cooper doesn't fit that mold, and Bergeron does, and he allows them to do some other things with their roster that make a lot of sense. I like him personally. He's very athletic, very good in the open floor in transition. I think that'll be probably his calling card as he starts. A guy that you can leak out to. You get the lead pass to in a break, and he can kind of finish it by himself. He'll get stronger, so the finishing through contact will get better. But he has a long way to go on the offensive end. But the upside is clearly there, and I think it's a guy that they were like, this is a worth of the roll of the dice, so to speak. And if he has the trajectory that if he fills out a little bit and he works on his jump shot a little bit, there's a really valuable NBA player there that could be a rotation player 2 or 3 years down the road, which I think is good. That's a good pick at 45.
Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer, our buddy, he, as he does every year, has been doing it since, long before the man was famous, puts out his draft guide and just some of the pros and cons And obviously, Evan highlighted a lot of this already. Above the rim finisher who can dunk in traffic, accelerates quickly, displays good passing vision, flashes lockdown ability as an on-ball defender with the 7-foot wingspan, impactful on-ball defender when he's in the right position. Some of the minuses: streaky shooter, lacks touch in the paint and from the free throw line. Shot selection, not great. Loves the mid-range jumper, which must mean he's about 45 years old. Defensive fundamentals require improvement to complement his physical profile, lacks awareness defending the off ball, and yada yada yada. Again, 45th pick. Like there is no perfect player, certainly not when you're in the middle of the second round. But one of the things you were both talking about is wings in today's NBA. Mark, we've been joking about this for years. The fact that the Celtics, they can only have so many guys that are like
Right.
6'5" to 6'9", like that. This goes back to Danny Ainge. Clearly, like that can't be the entire roster. You got to have a little bit of balance. So I guess we'll see what they decide to do. We know they actually have kind of an abundance of bigs right now after the Horford and Brown additions in the Walker trade, which cost them that first round pick in the first place. So we can get into that a little bit as well. The only guy, Evan mentioned him. I want to acknowledge him as well. Hauser coming in from Virginia on a 2-way contract, which of course begs the question: what is Taco Fall's future? What is Tremont Waters' future? The organization, at least under Ainge, believed in Fall. We'll see about Brad. Waters, according to reports, wants out. He's looking for, we were laughing about it off air. It's kind of easy to scoff at, as Evan said, like 16th guy on the bench looking for a trade. At the same time, you think of like Abdel Nader, right? Like a guy who's just, he's proved himself. He's proven himself in the G League, and now he's looking for an opportunity. And I think, I just don't feel like, Mark, that exists in Boston. It should, fundamentally, in that they clearly have a gap at point guard with Kemba gone, and not a lot of people are convinced Marcus Smart should be that guy, but it's certainly not Tremont Waters. So you may as well go somewhere else.
Well, and Peyton Pritchard pretty much ended Tremont Waters' chances here anyway. But I mean, as far as Tremont goes, Oklahoma City, that kind of situation. That's where he's going to get his minutes. Wouldn't be surprised. He sort of fits the bill for Sam Presti in terms of commitments. I mean, I can't even keep track of how many draft picks he has now.
In abundance. Many.
He's trading picks for picks.
Right.
He's just in this cycle. But Bergarin, I guess the one thing that stands out to me is just how he's got a lot of raw explosiveness to him. Mm-hmm. He has the potential to be very strong at the rim, but he can't really shoot. It's not
36% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. I mean, it's not nothing. It's better than Sharif Cooper shot 22%, wherever the number was.
Yeah. Oh, Sharif Cooper can't shoot.
And that's the thing. That's the people. That's the one everybody wanted, was this in the visions there, obviously. But it's he's 18. He's been playing professionally since he's 16 years old, which I like. His brother is a professional basketball player, so he's growing up in a family that understands what it's like to be a professional athlete in their life. And again,
like the Wagners.
Yeah, right. And I like how they're already, there's already the rivalry going on there with Franz and Mo Wagner, which is great.
That's right.
But
like the billboards in Orlando.
He's going to take some polish, but it's not like he's a complete disaster from 3-point range. Jaylen Brown shot worse than 3-point range, so it's,
sure.
Just
put him up against some Euro League defense and see how he does. If he develops that 3 to an NBA level, then you've really got something. I mean, that's but they've got, like we were saying, they've got time. I mean, it was pretty obvious from what Brad had to say last night. They're looking at the next stage, which is free agency, and they've got to do some juggling to make that work.
Well, one of the first things that you said, Mark, upon coming on with us, is that it feels like a trade is around the corner. So that's what people are looking for. And Shams Charania from The Athletic put out last night, which drew some attention from people. And this is not a new rumor, but anytime Shams and Woj and those guys put something out there, it's going to get that much more attention, obviously. Celtics, the Bulls, and the Raptors are among the teams expected to show interest in restricted free agent Lonzo Ball. Again,
Right.
Celtics have a point guard situation right now.
Right.
Is this at all likely to you that that Lonzo Ball winds up in Boston?
Depends on the price tag, because I think they're going to pay Evan Fournier. So and having his bird rights, that makes total sense. Yeah, if there's a bidding war, it doesn't sound like New Orleans is very interested in retaining him.
Right.
Um,
He's too
but
good. He's getting in the way.
Yeah, but if there's a bidding war, I don't see how they're going to be able to afford it.
Yeah,
Is there
it screams
someone
more.
you like, someone you think is a better fit?
Yeah, Patty Mills. I don't know, and then again, I don't know how much that's going to cost.
Yeah, it feels like Lonzo's more Chicago bound because Chicago has some cap space that they can use to acquire him. I don't think Boston's, in order to acquire, I think both Fournier and Lonzo, I think they're hard capped at that point. It makes it much more difficult to do anything else. And I think that's just it's a tough spot to be in. I'm not a cap expert. Like, I just tell you who to follow in cap things. Like, Keith Smith does an amazing job. Ryan Bernardoni does a great job with cap stuff. Don't listen to me on that. It's not my forte. I just regurgitate what they say anyway. So just
Sure.
listen to them. But the Lonzo stuff, I think, at a certain price, because I think Lonzo's a hell of a player. I think he's exactly what this team needs: a pass first point guard, plays defense, rebounds, spreads the floor. Lonzo's shot has come a long way. I will actively acknowledge that. That pass first, contagious ball movement, which Ime spoke about during the press conference, which seems to be lacking on Team USA right now. And it's something that I think a lot of teams strive for. We all wish we were the 2014 Spurs that added Boris Diaw, and all of a sudden they're one of the best passing teams that we've seen in the last 20 years. And then Golden State, with all they've done, Lonzo fits that mold, and it would be great to have him in Boston, but it doesn't seem feasible, especially if Fournier keeps playing out of his mind for Team France and starts to raise how much money he's going to get in free agency here, because he looks like one of the best players in this entire tournament so far for the Olympics. So he's been scoring the ball at will. He moves the ball really well. Shot looks good. And again, that's what they wanted when they acquired him. And until he got COVID, he looked pretty good. So, I think Fournier, as everybody has reported, Mark, I think you've done it. Everybody's done it. Fournier seems to be the first domino to fall. And then they have some other things they got to take care of, including the Marcus Smart extension and Rob Williams' extension. Mark, any idea how those might be progressing at all? Or you think this is more of a wait and see thing here with both guys?
I was talking with somebody yesterday who, referring to them as a group, said, well, it seems like everybody feels they're worth a lot of money right now. So, I can see Smart, as it turns out, signed a pretty team-friendly contract the last time around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure he's going to be as willing to settle. He's got a new agent.
He even made a rap video about it. What do you mean he's not going to settle? He was excited about that 52 mil.
He wants to stay. They're looking to make a deal. I think he's expendable. I think if they find the right deal, he's gone. I don't think, you talk about point guards, they're not going to be in the market for Mike Conley or Chris Paul. That's way out of their range. Sounds like Conley's going to stay in Utah anyway. That's why I go back to Patty Mills. There's a connection there with Udoka, a comfort level. And he's a veteran presence off the bench. He's not going to cost Peyton Pritchard a lot of minutes, but he's the kind of guy they need. When Brad said what he said last night, the first person I thought of, edgy veteran presence. That's Patty Mills.
Yeah, you can shoot.
Maybe I'm going too hard.
No, I think Patty Mills is the one that everybody, you look at, not consensus, but you look at what the pulse of the fans are. I think a lot of people are calling for Patty Mills. Someone that can, when things get stale offensively, like they did a lot last year, someone that can come off the bench,
Right.
score, in isolation if they need to. And I'm not saying Patty Mills is some great isolation scorer, but in the right opportunity, you could bring somebody on off the dribble. But someone that's going to keep the ball moving, who, if the ball finds him while he's open somewhere, he can hit an open shot. He can get hot from certain places, but he's not going to disrupt the flow of your offense. He's going to, he's going to make it a little bit more what Ime wants, a free flowing offense that predicates ball, or that focuses on ball movement. The relationship with them from San Antonio is obviously something they're going to be, it's something to look at and say, yeah, we can build off this. I mean, I think that in someone that can pull, Pritchard aside and pull guys like Tatum and Brown aside and say, hey, like, we need to do this to get, like, it's helpful to have a voice like that. In on your bench and in your locker room, it's really helpful, and a guy that can see what Ime's focus is and his goal is, and really another guy that's like a coach and a player on the floor simultaneously. That's what people love about Rondo. They want Rondo back in Boston because he can be a coach and player simultaneously. Patty can do that, but also shoot it a little bit better,
and maybe not be so polarizing. The other thing is Patty gives Ime a comfort factor, somebody he knows he can lean on when he's trying to get through to other guys. He'll be the coach's guy. And I think for a new coach, that's going to be big. The other thing I like, especially if bringing him off the bench, is that he'll really fit with Fournier. Fournier is another ball movement, hit the open shot guy. I mean, the second unit, as you guys know, was a problem at a lot of points last year. You get a regular Fournier in there, you get Mills, whoever the backup big is with that group, you can really start to develop a bench identity.
So Evan Fournier's return to you is an inevitability.
I think so. I think, Brad loved him. This is his chance to sign him. He can't get enough wings, as we've been saying. Yeah. I mean, and they've got his bird rights. It makes all the sense in the world.
Hi guys, Cedric Maxwell here. I want to take a minute to tell you about Marigold Medical. I'm used to keeping my body in great shape, but with arthritis, even the most simple everyday tasks became unbearable. As soon as I called Marigold Medical, I knew I was in good hands. No drugs, no surgery, just an experienced team of caring professionals that wanted to get me back to doing the things I love. Make the call to Marigold Medical and get back to pain-free life.
So there are larger things at play, larger things to get into, Mark. Something that I just, a passing mention, I suppose, but I feel like it's worth mentioning because it's out there again, third straight year that it's at least the smallest of talking points. Celtics and Pacers, maybe talking Myles Turner again. Do you put any validity into these reports?
That's a tough one considering where they are with their bigs right now, unless you're planning to move Horford. And that's a possibility.
Boy, that would be crushing to the Horford family.
I think but Horford has been Brad's binky for a long time. I think he's really happy to have him back in the mix. I think there's too many good things he's going to do, not just in terms of ball movement. And they haven't been a good defensive team since he left, if you think about it.
No, they haven't.
I mean, so there's too many things he's going to bring, and he's had a year of rest, basically. I mean, I think he's going to come in with fresh legs. He's going to nurture Time Lord. He's been working with Moses. Now that's something that also you have to think about. Moses has potential. He's your first round pick, right? I mean, that's basically it. He's the 17th pick. So I don't see how you fit. I just don't see how you fit another big in there with a trade.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think of him?
Well, the thing that I'll even go a little step further here. And again, I don't watch Myles Turner every day. And I watch every game. I know what he's capable of. He's, a guy that's a floor stretcher, block shots like crazy to the rim, which Boston can definitely use. The one thing that I think, again, Horford gives you a vet presence, which I think Brad, again, we've acted it like that's something they're looking for. And again, Turner is a young, promising big man, but he doesn't have experience in the playoffs and experience in this roster like Horford has. You know what I mean? Like that's got to mean something. The money owed to Turner versus the money owed to Horford is also something we can talk about here in a little bit, because Horford has that $14.5 million, partial guarantee coming up that makes him slightly, more tradable as we get closer to trade deadline stuff. But the other thing I will say is, and Ime talked about this too, they like bigs that can pass. Right. And the thing about Horford is his vision as a high post passer, facilitator at the high post is something that I think gets lost. And as you try and talk about valuing ball movement, there's something right there between. And look, we all know Rob has this as part of his game as well. You have two guys there that can move the basketball at the 5 spot, which I think they value a little bit. I think look, I'm not saying I think we went maybe a little too overboard with the Myles Turner thing, in one direction of like, oh man, like, is Myles Turner even that good? Like Myles Turner's a good player.
Then he led the league in blocks, right?
Yeah. Would he have made the Celtics better last year? Probably, how much better? I don't know, but they would have at least had a big man presence in the middle that they sorely missed throughout the entire season. But I think Horford, just the way he fits with this team, and knows these guys. Like, I think the familiarity means a lot more than just having a young, freak, athletic guy in Turner who makes more money than Horford anyway. So I think I like Myles Turner, but he's not the guy I'm looking to add at this point if I'm the Celtics to this roster. I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't think and that word edge. When I think of edgy, I don't think of Myles Turner. I just I mean, he gets blocks, he gets stats, but he's not.
Well, and defensive rating too, like he, net rating, that type of thing, into the analytics. Like he's a good defender. I mean, let's not discount his ability on that end of the floor. He's, whether he's as good a team defender as Al Horford, I honestly have no idea. I haven't dug into those metrics, but I just think sort of the cost benefit analysis of the whole thing.
Right.
And the fact that he's a young vet. He's 24, 25 years old. He's been in the league, a handful of years. Durability's been a problem just the last couple of seasons. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a fine player. I wasn't goo for him, last year, and I'm not this year either.
I mean, you've already got a guy with durability issues who you're hoping finally gets through that. And now you're going to add another big with the same kind of stuff. Right. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of a match that is.
One of the big talking points, Mark, over weeks, really.
Hang on. Before we move on here, I'm sorry I'm cutting in here, Adam, but I just want to bring this up. And I know that we're going to look at counting stats and say that Myles Turner is better with counting stats than Rob. Well, the reason for that is he plays way more, per game.
You got to get into the per 36 minutes.
If you get into per 36 and per 100 possessions, Rob actually, kind of pans out a little bit better than Myles Turner. Per 36, Myles Turner's 14.6 points, 7 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1 steal, and 3.9 blocks a game, which is pretty elite, right? And he shoots threes. Rob doesn't. So that, helps him out a little bit. He shoots 34% from 3 on 5 attempts per 36. Meanwhile, Rob, 15.2 points a game, 13 rebounds per 36 versus 7.6 assists, 3.4 assists per game, 1.6 steals per game, and he's not too far behind in blocks at 3.3 per 36. Then if you go to the per 100 possessions, Rob's numbers, both offensive rating and defensive rating, are better. 139 offensive rating, 104 defensive rating versus Myles Turner, 112 and 108. So, like, they kind of already have someone that's already.
But that's if where he totally, and Mark brought this up, where he totally dwarfs Rob as much as I hate to say it, because big time Lord guy, but it's, get in the face of my mic here. Durability. It's a problem. Guy can't stay on the floor. And until he can stay on the floor, it's like the comp doesn't even matter. We can't keep, we got to keep Rob Williams on the floor. The royal we got to keep the guy on the floor to actually let him hit that ceiling. I've been talking about Rob Williams being the starting center for this team for 2 full seasons at this point, 2 full years. I've been talking about this, but as soon as he just looks like he's ready to mature and get into that spot, injury. It's every time like clockwork, fittingly enough for his nickname. And I don't know what we're supposed to do with that going forward, but I don't think you want to then invest in, and look, Al Horford could be the same situation just because of his age, but it's hard to invest in another young player who has trouble staying on the court.
I think that it'll be interesting once camp starts, but that Rob Horford combination, I mean, you talk about ball movement. I mean, I know there's no comparison between Turner and Time Lord in terms of passing ability. I mean, Rob is really elite at finding shooters. He's already to that point, I think. And that's what they're going to be doing. That's how you're going to make Tatum better. That's how you're going to make Jalen better, is with a passing big like that. So yeah, keep him on the floor. His injuries tend to be kind of fluky. So, what could happen next?
We've been talking for weeks about the possibility of Bradley Beal getting moved, Damian Lillard getting moved. Obviously, neither one on draft night did. Dame, that seems like that's still in the air, still potential. People want to link him to the Sixers. Possible Ben Simmons deal. He didn't get traded yet, but very clearly that has come to an end in Philadelphia. Bradley Beal, interestingly enough, at least reportedly, is committed. He doesn't want out of Washington. And I don't think there's any great shock there. Like Russell Westbrook getting moved to the Lakers, and we'll get into that in a little bit. It wasn't the thing that was going to break the Campbell's back. Like he didn't want out when John Wall was sent away. He's not going to want out, just talent wise. I don't know how they fit personality wise, but just pure talent wise, he's not going to want out upon Russell Westbrook leaving. So, short of, him like forcing his way to Boston, I'll choked up thinking about it, forcing his way to Boston just because he's so hell-bent on playing with Jason Tatum, which we're not even sure that he is, obviously, then we'll, it feels like that sort of that dream, that pipe dream people have, or that fantasy or whatever. Like it's almost, short of me bringing it up right here, obviously, it's almost not even worth talking about anymore, because I don't think it's going to happen. I, by the way, would not, and I've said this before, I wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown for him anyway. And it's not like it'd be a 1-for-1. It'd be Jaylen Brown plus whatever it is. Just doesn't make all that much sense to me, Mark. I mean, what's your how are you feeling right now about the Bradley Beal potential?
I think if you're interested in him, you wait it out until he's a free agent.
Yeah.
You've got, you guys were talking about the discount in Horford's contract. You'll get some flexibility that way. Everybody's building flexibility for 22, right? Mm. But that's, if he really wants to come here and he decides that Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell are not really what he's going to get him where he wants to be, then I think you have a good shot.
Sounds kind of cruel to say because I don't know Bradley Beal at all, but I think Washington as a franchise is just content to be in the, like that in the play-in tournament, in that 7.
It's not even play-in tournament. What play-in tournament are you making with Bradley Beal and the spare change they have? I mean, that team is going to be a disaster.
I think they're content to be in the conversation. You might be right. I think they're content to be in the conversation for that, though. And maybe they won't be. But I think Washington as a franchise is perfectly fine living there. And I don't know how much Beal cares. Like Beal just might be, you could look at it 2 ways. He could be totally comfortable in Washington, just wants to be there. Or you could, if we want to like really do him a solid here, you could compare him to Giannis in the sense that he says, no, I want to do it here. Like, I don't want to go somewhere else. I don't want to join a super team. I don't want to go with friends. I want to win in Washington, and we're going to build a true contender here, and I'm going to wait it out.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's going to happen with Bradley Beal there. I don't think it would make any
That's the difference, though.
responsible sense to give Bradley Beal a super max contract in a year.
That's
I don't think
the
Washington will.
The difference between Giannis in Milwaukee and Bradley Beal in Washington is that Milwaukee with Giannis was a 1 seed not too long ago. They know they can compete for stuff. They just didn't, the bubble was weird for them, but they know they're good. Washington has never been relevant basically with Bradley Beal. Their one crowning achievement with the Washington Wizards was the game 6 they won against the Celtics, where John Wall hit the 3. He climbed to the scores table and said, "This is my house." And then, wait a minute, we got to win one more game. And here comes Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, here comes Kelly O.
Like, this is not like Brad Beal hasn't tasted. Like, first off, I think Brad Beal is a competitor, and you get that vibe from him if you listen to him. Like, he has a AAU team that he speaks very candidly with, because he's just a really awesome guy. And he talks about how when you're in the NBA, you have people gunning for your job constantly. And if you're not willing to work and put the work in every single day, both in the regular season and off season, to be the best you can be, somebody's going to come after for your spot. And he's talking about that like he's, wasn't the number 4 pick. It wasn't an amazing recruit to Florida. He's talking like he was like a guy that was picked in the 2nd round, and is through hard work and grit has made his way onto the starting lineup. Like, this is a guy who has a lot of, he's been people were comparing him to Ray Allen when he came out of high school. Okay. It might be the best shooting prospect we've seen since Brad. That's the type of stuff we're dealing with here. I have a hard, and maybe I'm projecting at Brad Beal. That's fine. I have a hard time looking at Brad Beal thinking like, yeah, he's gonna be totally content in Washington being the 10 seed his whole career. I don't think so. I think at some point, and I think this is going to be the fascinating part about this group of superstars, and Brad Beal doesn't really fit in that because he's younger, but there's going to come a point where LeBron, KD, Damian Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, these older guys are going to be past their prime. They're going to start having to latch on to other teams with a Luka, a Trey, a Zion, name it, right? They're going to start latching onto those guys to try and win one more. So I think Brad might look at the landscape, say, hey, I'm like 26. I'm very young, 25. I have a lot of time to make a lot of money, but I also don't want to be in a losing situation my whole life. And I think at some point, I think it's going to come to a head shortly. I don't know if it's going to be in Boston. I know that Tim and Tatum are buddies, and short of him being like, I'm only playing in Boston, I don't see how it's going to work. But I don't think Brad Beal is going to be long for Washington when he realizes how bad his roster is this year. And if Washington's good, I will eat so much crow on the show. Fine by me. But I just don't see it at all, guys.
Don't worry. They won't be good. You don't have to worry about that.
It tells you something about Washington, that they think that by bringing in all of these Lakers who are all have serious flaws, that's going to make Bradley Beal feel better and feel like he has a better chance. Kyle Kuzma is, do you want to see Kyle Kuzma in a bigger role than he already had?
This is the opportunity, though, for old Kuz to inch toward 18, 19 points per game. This is his chance.
He's a guy who can shoot you out of a game faster than just about anybody except
Marcus Smart.
But also Westbrook, the guy who's replaced it, could also do.
Yeah. But no, I think Beal has shown no indication that he wants to leave, as you were saying, but I think he's going to play out his contract and see what happens. Wait until you become a free agent. See what happens next year. Maybe we're all wrong, and that's a good lineup. I just thought last night when that deal was made, I thought, what a great deal for the Lakers.
Let's spend a few on that deal, because it was interesting. I mean, it was like the war between Shams and Woj, because first it looked like Buddy Hield, for those same players, more or less, was going to be going to LA, and then maybe the Wizards swooped in and made the Westbrook deal, or maybe it was Sacramento was leverage. I don't know. Honestly, just as a basketball fan, clearly I'm not a Lakers fan, but as a basketball fan, I thought Buddy Hield would have been a better fit there. Is he the better player? No. But would he be the better fit? I think he would have been. You wouldn't have given up quite as much for him either as, what Westbrook and that 44 mil a year or whatever it is cost you. What's interesting to me, and I remember Evan and I've talked about this a bunch as well, just over the years, I did not think, and I was wrong, obviously, I did not think the bubble Lakers or that team in general, and going into that year, 2 years ago, they were the expected, projected champions, and sure enough, they were. I didn't think they had enough. I thought that, I thought the LeBron, Davis, like top heavy, that's it. They're, very little around them, not nearly enough to go win a championship, as we saw they did. And then they make all these moves last offseason, addressing the fact that they really, despite winning a championship, really lacked depth. And I remember saying on the show, I thought the Lakers were, at least on paper, a better team this past year than they were the previous year when they won. And then health issues get in the way, load management, all, like LeBron doesn't play nearly as much. He has a serious injury. Davis is in and out throughout the year. And, then they squeak into the play-in tournament, go down in the first round. And I think they're just so embarrassed that it's, the hell with this, we're going to deal with it. We're going to show all the gamblers that our odds are where they should be, and depth be damned. We're adding another, head of the snake, another, we're forming our even more super team. We've got a 3-headed monster now. We've got a big three with LeBron and Davis and Westbrook. I don't think Westbrook, by the way, is going to be a, average a triple double there in LA, because I think he's going to fall short on the rebounds. If I don't know, there are probably odds out there on that, but the fit, I don't love. I think it's fine, but there's so little around them right now. And I know they're going to sign guys. They're going to, they'll fill out the roster, but I think there's so little around them that it just doesn't it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's just that was such a flawed supporting cast last year. I think they really get tired of it. There's no excuse why Harrell isn't a better defensive player. I mean, it's he should be a beast, and he's not. And I think at least Westbrook brings you a kind of aggression. He definitely adds edge to that team. Does he get along with LeBron? I guess that's the big thing.
That's everybody's favorite game.
If he does, but I think the thing I loved about Westbrook last year was it looked like he was starting to see the light in terms of what's important. I thought that, he played well with Beal. And he can sometimes all by himself change games. I mean, and you're going to have, you were talking about the load management. I mean, LeBron has finally hit that age when he's going to get hurt. So during those gaps, Westbrook is the kind of guy who can fill in when you've got guys off the floor who can sort of take things over.
Yeah, I just don't like. They need floor spacers, and he's not a floor spacer.
No,
I mean, he's gonna give you a ball handler. He's gonna take responsibility off of LeBron, which is gonna work. And then we'll see what they do with Schroeder. But that's between the three guys there, you got 110, 120 million committed to three guys.
True.
True.
So now will they not afford Schroeder?
I don't think they can. I don't think it's physically possible. I mean, if people are talking about, they can still pull off a Hield trade, I'm like, it's 143 million or 140 something million for 4 players. I mean, the Nets version of it works because you have 2 or 3 of the best isolation scorers in the game. I mean, Harden is a 40 whatever percent 3-point shooter, but he also is a whisk with the basketball. He's phenomenal.
Right.
Kyrie, when he's right, is an incredibly good break you off the dribble player. And Kevin Durant is one of the best shooters and individual scorers we've ever seen in the history of basketball.
Sure.
This other version of it doesn't matter who you put around those three guys. They're still going to score 120 points. And
Right.
they're Durant 3, foot sizes smaller shot away from being in the NBA finals probably, right? Because they probably handle, even though they were short, they probably find a way to handle the Hawks because that's how good that Durant and Harden and Kyrie, if they're all healthy, can be.
Sure.
Look, and Durant was the only one that was healthy at the end of the thing. So, look, it doesn't work. It's great for Boston because that gets an impact player out of the Eastern Conference and they replace him with a whole bunch of junk, right? That's great for Boston. So let's acknowledge that.
Worry about, right?
One less team to worry about, one less team to beat up, and maybe if Jalen and Jason have their A games, you can still win that. I mean, look,
those are the games the Celtics tend to lose, though, aren't they?
They do. Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. But it's the Lakers version. And look, I understand getting Westbrook because he's durable. He's the anti-Anthony Davis. Davis, seems to get an injury every single season. 1 or 2. And I love Anthony Davis, but he just can't stay healthy.
Right.
Westbrook is Iron Man. That guy is never hurt ever. And he plays hard every second. Basically, he's on the floor. I mean, defensively, he might slip every once in a while, and he's not that great of a defender anymore. But you don't have to worry about him trying. He's gonna bust his ass for 48 minutes. So I think LeBron likes that. But how they fill the rest of that roster out, I have no idea. I have no clue. And it'll be fascinating to watch because they're going to compete with some guys in the periphery that Boston's going to probably want to compete with. And Boston might have a little more money at their disposal than LA does. LA is going to have LeBron. So that's when you compare them and you try and bring the Celtics back into it, you look at, they might be looking at the same guys in the periphery and, Boston might have we have more money than they do. And LA is like, yeah, well, we have LeBron and we're going to be able to compete for a title a little bit better than Boston does. But, that's going to be, to bring it back to Boston, that's going to be how it impacts them a little bit.
Yeah. The one name that I was a little surprised by was Caldwell Pope. I mean, he is a guy who actually serves a purpose there.
Yeah, but the Clutch has done him so many favors over the years with LA. I think KCP owes the Lakers one at this point. Then you get like $12 million per year for he got a lot of money from LA. And I think, Clutch was like, hey, if you do this for KCP, we'll throw, we'll talk to LeBron about it and see if we can get LeBron out of here too. I think KCP, the Lakers have done him enough favors. I think he's done them very well.
Right.
All I know is I've been saying Russell Westbrook was going to be a Laker for 6 years now. So I'm just glad to be right eventually. Yeah. I mean, it took a little time, but we got him there. The fashion maven landed there.
There you go. I mean, with the Lakers, you can pick about any name and it's eventually going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. But imagine if we had said Rondo back in the day, that would have been tough.
Rondo is a Laker. My God.
He was good for them too.
That was for half the league before he retired.
He was so good for them.
He was the perfect fit.
But if you had told Rondo back in say 2010, oh, you're going to be a Laker someday, he would have spat at you.
Yeah.
Now he is the ultimate. Well, I don't want to call him a mercenary, but he's the ultimate.
He kind of is. I mean, he's certainly a journeyman now.
Yeah, I'm not sure Brad would want to bring him back, considering some of the grief Brad had with him.
Yeah, older, wiser, right?
Well, yeah, he is actually.
Yeah, and they both are, quite frankly.
Yeah, true.
All right, I think that'll about do it. We're 45 or 50 minutes deep. I think that's enough, and quite frankly,
there is one thing.
Oh, please.
That I think is going to be a big key with these guys. How much is Ime able to change the way Smart looks at the game? I mean, because he should be your playmaker.
Yeah.
He runs a great pick and roll. He is a good passer. But when he gets that first open 30-footer early in the clock, does he think, well, maybe we should be moving the ball a little more?
Well, but to
Yeah.
that end, and like you said, it goes directly with Ime. This is what I wonder. For all the people over the years, the last, how long has Smart been here? Like 7 years now or something like that.
Yeah.
For all the people over the time that Marcus Smart's been here that have, bitched and moaned and griped about shot selection, the amount he shoots, 3-pointers, all that stuff. I never did, for two reasons. One, I thought he'd get better, which, he did,
Right.
and then he kind of fell back. But also because how do you get mad at the guy when the head coach is publicly telling him to take that shot?
Right.
Brad Stevens
Right.
wanted him shooting that way. So what I'm really curious about is if Ime Udoka, to your point, steps in and says, yeah, don't do that anymore.
Right.
That's not how we see you here.
Yeah.
And obviously, if he does, Smart's gonna have to listen. Otherwise it's gonna cost him in one way or another. So he's not gonna just blindly, or blatantly disregard his new head coach. So if Ime does say that, and we don't know really how Ime views this league yet with regard to offense, and does he want his team taking 43 pointers a game, or does he want his team taking 23 pointers a game, and where Smart fits into that to me is one of the really interesting things going into this year.
Yeah. And playing through the post, playing through Time Lord, and then playing the inside out game.
Mm-hmm.
And Smart's a good post facilitator himself. We've seen it throughout his entire career. He's a great post facilitator. Get him down there. I think you're right on this, and I think it will be a testament to how good of a communicator is Ime Udoka really. Because that's what everybody talks about. He's a great communicator. He's the James Harden whisperer. He was the reason why LaMarcus Aldridge went to San Antonio. I mean, we've heard all the stories. And I think Damon Stoudemire might have something to do with this too. And I'm so thrilled that he is a part of this coaching staff. Adam and I think when it happened, you and I texted, we were like, yes, this is exactly, this is what
this is the guy we've been wanting for years.
Perfect.
Get him a jersey.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Get him a jersey. Let him play,
bring in Mighty Mouse.
Right. I'm all about it. And, look, I am of the, and look, this goes right back to what we said earlier, Mark. If the right deal's out there, there might be somebody that they really consider moving. I am very curious, and I would love to see it before they do anything, because I don't think you have to trade Smart right now. You can wait till mid-season if you want to, and I think that's what they should do. Sure. I would like to see what Marcus Smart looks like as the full-time point guard.
Yes,
I just want to see it. I think it's possible. I think it's there. I just think he needs the right guidance, and I think maybe those two guys are the ones that can do it for him. And I think if you're trading Smart, who's now the longest tenured Celtic on this team, I think you owe it to yourself, because you've come this far. You might as well give this thing one. You might as well see if he's got it, because if he does, it cures this problem of all the small point guards they've had lately, and all the abuse they get on the defensive end with Kemba and Kyrie and Isaiah.
Right. It
finally gives you a solution to that. And I think you owe it to yourself to see it through. That's all I'm going to say.
Again, the new Celtic is Juhann Bergarin in a few years, maybe, if he's able to make the league. But either way, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Continues for the Celtics free agency right around the corner. And of course, Jason Tatum, Jason Gold there in Tokyo. So best of luck to the Americans and everybody else involved. Mark Murphy, always a pleasure, sir. Come back anytime.
All right.
We'll bug you in 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
All right, good. Evan Valenti, have fun. I'm Adam Kaufman. Everybody enjoy the weekend. Thanks for listening, watching. We'll catch you next time.